Take another photograph and document a life that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble past at one with the
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talkin Guff with Ruben, me, your host, Ruben, Django, Pouch. Obviously, I was fairly baked in the last episode, and it was a bit rambling and incoherent at times, but maybe a bit of crack as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. But sure, it is what it is. Couple of bits of pepper for this week's episode, or I'm not doing it every week, but you know what I mean. I saw this thing about a month or so ago. Rob sent it to me, actually. It's a handsome Rob. He used to do the ones and twos. And it was like this woman on a daily show, or a girl, young lady, should I say, on a daily talk show that was hosted by that twat, Richard Madeley. And she's part of the Just Stop Oil, or I think it's also connected to Extinction Rebellion, etc., etc. And the way in which, because it was hashtag Don't Look Up, because it was just like the movie. Is it called Don't Look Up or Just Look Up? I can never remember, but it was just like that movie in that they were just like, oh, but come on, look at you. You wear clothes, don't you? How do you think those clothes got here? Oil. And I suppose the whole point of what the woman was saying was lost, and they didn't even want to hear it. They just wanted to totally knock her back, basically. And she's saying that, like, obviously she has to work within the systems that we have. What's she gonna do? Not wear clothes? Richard, you stupid prick. But she is saying that we need to change the systems in which we operate because they're destroying the planet, like total crop failure by 2030, etc., etc. Now look, I don't have the requisite expertise to make an informed decision upon climate change. There are people who argue that it's cyclical, etc. I don't know, is the honest answer. But what I do know, I'm pretty sure, like, that we're fucking abusing and destroying the planet for our own consumerist needs. And it's almost like the way we sort of, in a weird way, abuse ourselves, I suppose. We keep pumping processed food and other shit into our bodies, and it's not good, and it's going to kill us. And I think just in the same way, if we keep producing plastic and digging all the minerals out of the ground and using non-renewable fuel sources, that we're destroying the planet. We're abusing the shit out of it. How could anyone argue that? That's my thing. You don't believe in climate change, whatever. But, like, you just take a look around and tell me that it's not obvious that we're fucking destroying the place, abusing the shit out of a beautiful planet for our own ends. And it's usually connected, like I said, to consumerism and the generation and accumulation of wealth. So I don't think you can argue that. So why would you argue it? Why would you come up with these stupid fucking indifferent or irrelevant points? Like, well, would you wear clothes, don't you? Like, what? It's wild. Go check it out. Maybe I'll put the link somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Another thing I saw is, like, I keep seeing, and I touched on it last week, where I was there going, in China, like, if you get COVID in Shanghai, they take your cat and your dog and they fucking execute them and stick them in a plastic bag and leave them on the streets. I definitely saw videos where they're just, like, boarding up the entrances to whole fucking residential buildings like that, have thousands of apartments in them. And, like, what if a fire broke out even? You know, it's totally, oh no, we're just going to eschew or usurp obvious general, like, fucking safety precautions. Like, don't board people into houses. We know that that's bad, like, you know what I mean? And we're going to eschew and ignore all of the obvious sort of fucking measures we would take to ensure people don't die, and we're going to just fucking do that shit in order to stop coronavirus. I suppose the juxtaposition of the coronavirus situation for me is baffling, because, like, all over Europe, they're not even giving vaccines in Denmark anymore. They're getting rid of restrictions all over Europe. In the US, we now know that the magic vaccines didn't actually stop the spread of coronavirus. We've discussed how, like, everyone got vaccinated, everyone got coronavirus, everyone fucking got coronavirus again. And is coronavirus just going to be this thing that they wheel out every once in a while and stick on the headline of a newspaper to make us go, oh shit, yeah, we better not like relax. We better not just sort of live our lives. And it's always like these people who live a charmed existence. Like Bill Gates. Can I just even find it here quickly? Bill Gates is saying, Bill Gates warns of an even more transmissive and more fatal coronavirus variant. And obviously he's pulled that factotum out of his ass. And it's just like, do you understand how difficult it is for everyday people who live in the world, Bill? Do you get that? Do you understand that you live a charmed existence in fucking numerous and varied multi-million euro dollar mansions, like and you're trying to fucking corral everyone into this fucking state of fear and frenzy? It's bad enough down here, Bill. So why don't you fuck off? And again, it's just like, at what point are we not going to look at that machine and realise that that's what it is? They just want to roll out these fucking things to make us fucking scared every once in a while. And I suppose to control us in some weird way. And I feel that, like, the war in Ukraine is also being used to that effect. It's like, oh, because, maybe I'm being an ignorant fucking idiot. And again, not trying to belittle any of the situations happening in the Ukraine or, but, like, it's sort of, it seems to have dissipated somewhat, or certainly our news feed, with regards to the war in Ukraine, has dissipated somewhat in the last 2 weeks. Has anyone else noticed that? And then is this going to be another thing they roll out every once in a while to go, oh yeah, this is why it's going to cost €5 for a packet of pasta? I don't know. It just seems, again, I've said it before, it's just like this non-stop barrage of, like, you'd want to be fucking worried, Another bit of pepper this last week or so is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, whatever the fuck it is. Initially, I was thinking to myself, oh, that's bad. You shouldn't do that, actually, maybe, Johnny, because it's only going to blow up in your face. It's only going to look bad for you, and you could potentially lose that, and then you'll be in an even worse position. So he sued her for $50 million for defamation, then she countersues him for $100 million. And at the time, I was thinking, oh, this is just another gross circus that we're going to have to endure. And it's not going to be a good look for anyone, and probably least of all, Johnny Depp. And that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, it doesn't look good for Amber Heard so far. And one thing that's come to light is that she's sort of trumped up abuse allegations, and that in and of itself, now that we can sort of see the wood for the trees, seems to be alienating female support for her situation. Because we now know that, like, she fucking exploded his finger with a liter bottle of vodka, and when $50,000 worth of damages were done to that rented house in Australia, that in fact they were perpetrated by her. The blood and broken glass was a result of her abusing Johnny. And he explained that he had his hand on a wooden hardtop counter or something, and she fucking lamps a liter bottle of vodka, and it hits right there and explodes and bursts the top of his finger right off. And then we also heard audio where she's like, oh, what, Johnny? Are you going to tell the world that you, Johnny Depp, a man, are a victim of abuse? And the whole implication is like, who the fuck's going to believe you, you pussy? And he is, then, it turns out, because there's another bit of audio where she's just like going, I didn't punch you in the face. I hit you. I was going to slap you, and then I just ended up hitting you. And it's just like, if you'd have put that on the other foot, if you'd have flip-sided that to a man saying that, it would be like classic abuser shit, wouldn't it? It'd be like, what are you talking about? I didn't hit you. I only fucking punched you. Or, I didn't punch you. I hit you in the face. And so now we know that she does hit him. She fucking loves a bit. She's a violent wagon. Fucking knocks him around a bit. And it doesn't look good for her. Obviously, we're going to see her testimony next week or this week potentially, and that's not going to be good probably for Johnny Depp. But I think damage is already done to Amber Heard, and the public opinion has swayed. Like, even girls I know are posting on Instagram, like, that she's a cunt, basically, and that she's a total liar and an abuser, and that will not sit well with the matzos. That sort of trumped up or feigned allegations of abuse when in fact you are the abuser. That's going to end badly, and like I said, it seems to be alienating all levels of support, but especially with the women. They don't go for that shit. But one thing that's strange about it is that this is the world we live in now, isn't it? And it can't happen the other way. And you can say what you want, but that's not equality. a woman can turn around and say, this guy did X, Y, and Z, and it's pretty much straight away everyone just goes, all right, and that's it. The court of public opinion has spoken. He's been fired from his job. He's lost his contracts with Disney, etc., etc., etc. And the truth of the matter is that that's what she's saying is erroneous. It's not, in fact, true. And that is something that was definitely always an issue. But in the wake of the Me Too movement, and I'm not belittling the Me Too movement, it's obviously very important, and we don't want to, like, I don't want to condone or validate any sort of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, any of that stuff towards women. But one thing that is obvious is that a woman can say that about a man, and everyone goes, right, that's the case. But a man can't do the shoe cannot be on the other foot, as it were. Like, if Johnny Depp had it turned around before anyone said anything, it was like, oh, she abused me, we'd just be like, shut the fuck up, man. You know what I mean? And so I suppose if we're going to talk about equality, there also has to be equality of consequence and equality of I can't think of the word, basically. Whatever. But it's interesting stuff, and me and Noel are going to chat about it at length, I think, on the next podcast, because he's checking it out. Because, like I said, my initial thoughts was like, oh, that's bad news, and now it's turned into this spectacle that I can't really get enough of, and so we're going to talk about it on the next podcast, me and Noel Healy. I suppose we're going to have a little look at the Elon Musk Twitter situation, huh? I had mentioned in the last podcast that Elon Musk was looking to buy Twitter. He was offering 40% above share price value, etc., etc., etc. And in the interim, and in fact, even by the time I had edited that last podcast, he has in fact bought Twitter. He bought it for 44 billion, I think $56 24 cents a share, which I believe is 40% above market value. He has said that there is tremendous potential in Twitter that he is looking forward to unlocking. And just another quick one, he wrote in a tweet, funnily enough, that free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features and blah, blah, blah. But free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. Obviously, Elon Musk calls himself a free speech absolutionist, which I sort of can relate to. And he has been poking at the fact that Twitter has become, what did he call it, the de facto arbiter of free speech or something like this. Basically, because Twitter censors people. We know that if you have a conflicting narrative, Twitter won't even let you discuss that. And I suppose the thing when I read things like that, like the bedrock of free speech and all this shit, and the Jack Dorsey, the founder, calls it a global consciousness. I just think to myself, when did we put such gravitas on the importance of Twitter? Like, you know, global consciousness. Give it a fucking rest. What are you talking about? It's a social media platform. It's not a global consciousness. It's a bunch of woke Western fucking idiots. I don't believe that Twitter, like, I don't know, I don't use Twitter, but is it the virtual town square of global consciousness? Like, it's celebrities putting up, like, limited character publications. How the fuck could that, what the fuck? You know, what do these people think of themselves? I said last time it was like the last bastion of democracy and shit like this. It's like, get the fuck over yourselves. It's just an arm of your distorted Western reality. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, only 200 million people use Twitter. I don't think that's that many, considering half of them are celebrities and fucking horrible clout-chasing weirdos. But, I obviously have said before that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Elon Musk. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. He's the richest man in the world. I suppose by default, I don't trust him. And I had said before, you know, he's the son of a African mine owner, etc., etc., etc. So I looked a little bit more into Elon Musk as a person. And yes, his father was the one-time part owner of a gem mine down in Zimbabwe. And I would say some serious human rights violations were perpetrated in the name of capitalism in that situation. No doubt, scumbag. He would boast that at certain times they had so much money they couldn't even close the safe. Now that's Elon's father I'm talking about. But what I do know is that Elon Musk is estranged from his father and referred to him as like an evil person or a horrible person. Of all the evil deeds, he has done them all type thing. So God knows what it is that Elon Musk has seen his father do and say. Definitely when his mother and father separated in like the 80s or something like that, and she went back to Canada, he stayed in South Africa in Pretoria with his father, and it was one of the biggest mistakes of his life, he said. I also watched, there was an interesting thing that his maternal grandfather, his mother's grandfather or father, I can't remember, but on his mother's side, either his grandfather or his great-grandfather was this mad adventurer, a Canadian-American-born adventurer. He used to bring his family on like record-breaking flights in his single-engine fucking aeroplane as holidays. Like, he didn't go down to a mobile home in Wexford or Waterford or down to Mosney. These motherfuckers got in a Cessna and they would fly record-breaking distances in their single-engine airplane, which is quite interesting and sort of makes sense because maybe when you look at Elon Musk, he's a sort of neo-adventurer, a tech adventurer, a capitalist adventurer, if you will. I don't know. But I will say... I also watched this SpaceX documentary on Netflix, which is actually fucking really interesting. And I tell you, there's a bit where he's shedding tears because the astronauts basically, like, they spent something like $350 billion on the space program in America. And for what? Like, it's public money that they're spending for, like, a passion project almost. Like, what are the benefits from the space program in America, practically speaking? And there's a bit then where I think the woman who worked, I can't remember her name, but she was in the Obama administration. She was like, we can't be spending this money. Let's start to privatize the space industry. Let's start to give contracts to private companies. And they'd already been doing that with some United Rocket something and Boeing and places like these. But they were the big wigs of the aerospace technology, and they had these big contracts. And the point that this person who worked for the Obama administration was like, let's be more economic, let's box clever when it comes to the economics of this situation, and let's tender some of these contracts to more low-level companies in order to get the best price. And at one point, there was obviously a lot of, or not obviously, but there was a lot of objections to that proposal. And one of the ways in which they communicated those objections was they got, like, your man Neil Armstrong and two other captains of Apollo missions, I can't remember their names, to come out and say why this is a bad idea. And then Elon Musk gets interviewed after the fact, and he says how sad he was about that because they were heroes of his, and he's fucking crying. And I suppose I saw that and thought, wow. Now, obviously, they could just he looked like he was genuinely upset about the situation, but obviously they could take that genuine upset and use it to their advantage and leverage the situation. But it looked pretty authentic to me, and it made me, that and other parts of this situation have actually warmed me to Elon Musk, to be honest with you. And I think I love him. No, I think that I'm more on board with Elon Musk and his trajectory. I don't even think I'm saying that correctly, but at the same time, I will always give him a wide berth or take him with a pinch of salt, because at the end of the day, he's the richest man on planet Earth, and I don't think there's any, he's the richest man on a planet that has such disparity of wealth that I, by default or sort of de facto, do not trust him to a degree, but I'm warming to him more and more. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion on Elon Musk, but let's keep cracking, right? There are, I suppose, in the wake of his procurement of Twitter, there are some interesting points or nuances. Number one is that when he had first said he was going to buy it, and he had offered that first offer of whatever it was, $54 a share, 40% above the market value, there was a thing that the board members of Twitter did called a poison pill. And I don't really understand the ins and outs of it, but it's a way that they can sort of slow down a hostile takeover in order to draw it out. Potentially the buyer will lose interest. Potentially they'll get more money. I don't understand, but it's basically to try and stop the takeover. They do this poison pill protocol. I don't really know what it is. But then I think less than 10 days after that, he had it. He owned it. And I suppose that one thing I was thinking was like, well, how did that happen? If they initiated this poison pill thing that was apparently going to fuck him up, how did he just in such a short period of time then have it? And the answer to that question is money. Money. Because they sold it for money. No principals were actually involved in the situation. As soon as they realised, and the chairman of CEO, or the whatever it is, the fucking chairman of Twitter or whatever, I can't remember the exact wording, but basically, and I'm going to paraphrase here, basically what he said was like, we realised that we weren't going to get any more money for this, that this money was in the best interests of our shareholders, so we sold it. And we know that story. We see it around all the fucking time. Oh, what about principals? How much money? Fuck your principals. We want the money. What's the most important thing within this company? That our shareholders get rich. We've discussed this before, haven't we? It's like the companies that make certain pharmaceutical products don't necessarily give a fuck about the efficacy of those products or the dangers related to those products. Their number one priority is the shareholder wealth. And that's what happened here. There's all the, oh no, we've got principles. We're not selling it to another red pillar billionaire. Here, that's a thing that came up. Red pill. He's a red pilling billionaire. And I don't really get that. I don't understand that term. And does anyone else understand it? Would they put it in the comment section below? And I'll find out more about it. But the point I'm making is just like, oh no, we got principles and we're not going to allow another hostile takeover by a red pill billionaire. And it's just like, no, you are. As soon as you figure that you won't get more money than he can offer ever, you're going to fucking sell it. And that's exactly what they did. So that's an interesting thing, or interesting part of the dynamic, you know. And another interesting part of the dynamic is the reaction to him buying Twitter. And I had said before, like, that there was people, there was someone had posted when he was trying to buy it, or said when he had shown interest in the procurement of said company, people were just like, no, he'll just let Donald Trump back on, and we want censorship. We need it. And I just think that that's a fucking totally insane narrative or thought process. No one wants. That's the opposite of democracy, you fucking idiots. Censorship is fucking totalitarian by default, you fucking idiots. And let's go through a couple of them here. And I will start by saying this. There was 3 separate articles in NME about this situation. One was about a person who left, one was about Jack Dorsey, and one was about something else. And literally 60% of each of those articles was the same fucking article. Literally, word for word, verbatim. The article was the same, and right at the end they just tagged on how it's relevant to the headline. And that's like maybe 30% of the article is its relevance to the headline, whereas 60 to 70% of the article was just literally not even a rehash, a verbatim copy and paste job. And I just thought to myself, it's like, how could you, NME, as journalists, stand over such fucking lazy practices? Just like, oh, just copy and paste that in, and then just say, blah, blah. Obviously, your man Jack Dorsey, who founded Twitter, his reaction is positive. He thinks that Elon Musk is the only person they can trust to take Twitter in the right direction. And of course, he's shiting on about how it's a global consciousness and a fucking tool for good and all. It's just like, it's none of those things. It's a fucking social media platform for fucking spoiled Western brats. So, Anton Newcomb, who, if for those who don't know, was the lead singer of a band called the Brian Jonestown Massacre. And if you want to watch one of the best fucking documentaries you've ever seen, check out Dig, about Dandy Warhols, the rise and subsequent fall of the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown Massacre. It's fucking seriously entertaining. All you high and mighty do-gooders are deciding to jump ship because Mr. Hair Club for Men on the Moon, Elon Musk, just bought Twitter. Fucking him. It's time to pick up the pace and breathe fire in his face. Tell him and his ilk to go fuck themselves and provide directions. I don't really understand that. Then we're here, like, who is this person? Stuart Braithwaite. Don't know who you are. I know we're at a hot take saturation at this point, but it has to be said that a red pill billionaire douchebag buying Twitter is beyond terrible on every level possible. Really? Because I'm pretty sure what they're doing to the Palestinians in Gaza is beyond terrible on every level possible. You're talking about the fucking procurement of a social media platform from one group of scumbags to another lad who looks maybe even less like a scumbag than them. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But what a joke, Stuart Braithwaite. Get a fucking grip. Why don't you prioritise? I got one word for you, mate. Aleppo. Jeff Barrow, whoever you are. Hi, Elon. You're a twat. How's about that for freedom of speech? Love this. Love this from Ice-T. If getting off social media would ruin your life, you truly need to recalibrate your priorities. Just saying. Mwah! Another fucking one that annoyed me. Questlove. Welp. What now? And I don't really understand that, but I fucking tell you, man, Questlove has gone down, and I've spoken about it before. Fucking, he's through the floor of my estimation of him. He's a fucking joke, a total Uncle Tom. What now? People are still getting killed in the Ukraine, in the Middle East. That's what's happening now, you fucking idiot. Like, get over yourself, Questlove. Then Ice Cube, free your ask, at Elon Musk, take off my shadow ban, homie. We're also going to talk about Jamila Jamil, and I don't really know who she is, actually. She's an actress. I fear this free speech bid is going to help this hell platform reach its final form of totally lawless hate, bigotry, and misogyny. Best of luck. Oh, God. And then, obviously, Bring Back Trump is trending on Twitter, and he has said that he won't come back to Twitter. Look, all of the comments and reactions that I've just spoken about that are there, just the aforementioned, they're really annoying to me. And the reason I find them really annoying, and I've said it there, and I'll say it again, and we'll fucking concentrate on this for a minute, is that they are totally hypocritical. They are totally without any sort of rationale, you know? Like, who actually owned Twitter previous to this new red pill billionaire douchebag? Because and just quickly, all our major news outlets are owned and controlled by billionaire douchebags. Some who look even more douchey than Elon Musk. Again, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to be a cheerleader for Elon Musk. I'm just trying to be a cheerleader for transparency. It's just like Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Rupert Murdoch owns fucking half of the news outlets in the world. These are all billionaire fucking tyrants. You know, is that reality lost on everyone? And so, and again, let's have a look at who actually owned Twitter previous to this red pill billionaire douchebag Elon Musk. And it turns out, because Elon Musk is going to bring the company private again, because it's a publicly traded company on Wall Street, effectively. It trades in the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE. And that means that the biggest scumbags on planet Earth are going to own it. They are the only people with an opportunity to own Twitter. And its previous owners were Morgan Stanley, Vanguard, and BlackRock. They were the biggest owners of Twitter previous to the Elon Musk takeover. For anyone who doesn't know, Vanguard and BlackRock are the largest, literally the largest accumulators of centralized power and wealth. Like, they own fucking 50% of nearly everything. They have members on boards of every fucking corporation on the planet. Literally, that's not bullshit. They are literally the largest accumulators of centralized power and wealth. They have more influence over policy, etc., than anyone else on fucking planet Earth. They have a combined wealth of 30 trillion. And these are talking about red pill douchebag billionaires. like I said, all of that hypocrisy about it. It's just like, we're about free speech. No, you're not. You're about your free speech. You're about your perspective. You're about your truth. And anyone else is a scumbag. And you talk about hate and bigotry. You hate people who have opposing views to you. You woke left fucking idiots are the most virulent, the most ferocious when it comes to your ideals, and people who don't sign off on your ideals. They're fucking misogynists and bigots and blah 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 blah. So there's that hypocrisy, and then there's also the hypocrisy of this like billionaire situations. Just like, no, actually it turns out that this guy who just bought it is less of a scumbag than the people who owned it, and they don't give a fuck about your principles and your ideals and your fucking hate and bigotry and blah blah, your misogyny or your inequality. They don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. They're the number one perpetrators of inequality. The number one perpetrators of disparity of wealth. They literally, like that BlackRock company, they fuck people out of their homes all the time. They're fucking accumulating the rainforests and shit like this. That's what they do. They're lunatics. Lunatics. And everyone wants to shite on about how this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to humanity. It's a fucking social media platform. No one gives a fuck. And secondly, it was already owned by the biggest scumbags on planet Earth. Like, literally. You know? And that's a microcosm for everything that's wrong with the world. This fucking, I'm woke, I'm a socialist. No, you're actually posting your fucking libertarian diatribes on a phone that slaves made. You know, you're actually helping the richest people in the world accumulate even more wealth. You're increasing the gap between the people who have and have not. You know what I mean? You're perpetuating bullshit, divisive ideals when actually we should be looking at how institutions are looking to fucking divide and conquer us. Like, really, that to me, when I look around, it looks like that's what's happening. And so I hate it. I fucking hate that. I just think we're not gonna get anywhere as human beings. Humanity is fucking stifled. It's in a stalemate as long as we keep subscribing to this fucking hypocritical bullshit. Like, there are only two types of people in this world. I've said it 100 times. I've said it 1,000,000 times before I die. People, the haves and the have-nots. Stop bickering. Stop talking shit. Stop being fucking hypocrites. Start being real and take responsibility for your part in the situation. Stop fucking telling me that, you know, oh no, these warmongers are alright. These billionaires are alright. These fucking pharmaceutical lunatics are alright. They're all untrustworthy scumbags who should be dealt with the same sort of level of suspicion and anger. I think that's it. I think I've had a good enough rant there today. I feel good about it, to be honest with you. I feel fucking fresh as a daisy. Thanks for watching. We're definitely going to have Noel on to talk about the Johnny Amber thing because it'll be a bit of crack. And in the meantime, who gives a fuck? You know, like I said, Twitter will not help your sick mum. It won't help you pay the rent. It won't help you get a mortgage in a fucking hostile housing environment like we have here. It's not going to help with any of those things. And it doesn't matter who the fuck owns it. You know, that's not going to change the fucking awful things that are happening around the world. And get up off your fucking high horse and spare me the indignation, Twitter. Mwah. For all of my subscribers and anyone else out there, I love you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're loving yourself. And until next time, take another photograph.
Like you meant a life, that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble past at one with the ground, the sound